Good evening, and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. The end of a very busy week. Trying to wrap up a few things here around the house and trying to get ready for August, which is just around the corner. So, like I said, things are going to start opening up for drive times. I do have, I think I've got my phone around here somewhere. Monday and Tuesday. So Saturday is now booked. I do have times on Monday and Tuesday. So at the end of today's class, if people want to just drop me a note what they have available for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will start putting people in time slots and we can start driving a little bit more frequently. So that looks good. I do not have a class the first part of August, so that will be good. There will be nobody to share time with. And I'm getting a lot of things done from the previous class. So that's where we're at. Oh, I did post on the Facebook page a sheet that I want you to download. Okay, make sure that you do it. It has to do with highway driving. Something that we talked about last night. I wasn't able to get it on last night, but I was able to get it on this morning. So please do that and do that other worksheet as well as chapter 13. No, chapter 11. I'm sorry. That's what we've got to get tonight, chapter 11. All right, so tonight's topic is sharing the road with other roadway users. So we spent last night talking about merging onto a highway, how to pass, some tips for how to maneuver around the highway. But tonight we're going to be talking about people we may encounter on the highway. And the first group of vehicles are the trucks that are larger than the ones that we drive. So larger than a pickup truck, larger than a van. We're talking about your small utility vans that utility workers use, and then our tractor trailer vehicles that we find out on the road. So let's take a look at sharing the road with tractor trailers, motorcycles, and pedal bikes. Now, we may also encounter scooters, mopeds, motorized razors, skateboards, all these, anything that has wheels, of course, we know needs to be out on the roadway. So let's talk about some of the characteristics that we find on the road. So I want you to write a few of these down. All right. The first one is they're heavy. They're like 80,000 pounds, 120 feet long. So they're not going to be able to turn as well as we do. They're not going to be able to stop as well as we do. Their vision, because they're so long, it's not like we have the windows all around our vehicle to help us to see where our blind spots are. They don't have that luxury, so they have to rely on multiple types of mirrors off on the side. So the example that they give here in the notes, at 55 miles per hour, it usually takes them 3 to 4 times the distance that you need to stop. Now, I included 4 times because depending on the wear and tear of their tires, the condition of the road, whether it's wet, whether there's gravel, they're going to be going even longer than the 3 times distance that's included here. Now, the wide turns we've already talked about in class. We've talked about display stop lines at intersections, which are going to create a turning area for them to make their turns. So in your notes, make sure that you understand as you approach every intersection and you're making a left-hand turn, make sure that your stop line is not different than the stop line to the right to make a right-hand turn or go straight. Intersections around large buildings will probably have a display stop line, so make sure that you stop at that. When pulling away from a stop sign or a traffic light, you have a tractor trailer next to you, they've got pretty slow speeds. So they're not going to be picking up. So don't beep your horn. Give them plenty of time. Some of these tractor trailers have 18 plus gears to go through. If you're driving in an automatic transmission, you know the minute you hit your gas pedal, your car is moving, and it's moving quite quickly. But a tractor trailer is going to take probably up to a minute or two before they get to their desired speed. So give them the courtesy of staying back, not laying on the horn. And this term, no zone, we talked about last night. Make sure that you understand it. I'm going to show you a video on it in a moment about no zones. That's the area that's considered a blind spot that you should not be traveling in. But let's take a look at some of the characteristics that we're talking about here with trucks. So let's take a look at the truck video.
Hello, my name is Ralph Garcia, and I'm a professional truck driver with 37 years experience on the road with 3.5 million miles of safe driving. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from professional truck drivers how to maneuver around a truck safely. First of all, let's go over some tips before we get started. Never cut in front of a truck. Give us enough room. Second, stay out of the blind spots around a truck. Third, have enough cushion behind us. Don't follow too closely so you have enough time to stop. Also, trucks make wide right turns. Give us enough space to do those turns. And if you break down on the side of the road, make sure you get far enough off the road that you're safe. And last but not least, distracted driving. Don't text and drive. Stay off that phone. Let's get started, and we're going to hear from our drivers.
Hey, I'm Alan Boyd. I've been driving trucks professionally for 35 years. I know I don't look that old, right? Scratch that, don't answer. What I've learned is the right side of this truck is the largest blind spot we have. This blind spot can actually go over 3 lanes wide. I can lose a whole tractor and trailer. So it's very important when you get in this position to get yourself out as quickly as you can. Did you know that 35% of all car-truck related accidents, the car is in the truck driver's blind spot? Well, it's true. And how do you know that you're in the blind spot? In this position, it's very important to make sure you can see that driver's smiling face in the mirror. If you can't see that truck driver smiling face in the mirror, he can't see you. Remember, when that truck moves over to the left lane to let you off a ramp, that brings you out into this position, and that's okay. Make sure you slow down a little bit, allow the truck time to get back in front of you. That allows everybody to pass on the left where it's a lot safer. Remember to make good decisions when you drive.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Lewis. I've been a professional truck driver for 28 years, have 1.4 million safe driving miles. And today I want to talk to you about the rear blind spot of a tractor trailer. First of all, I want to tell you where I do not want you. I don't want you tailgating me. You know why? If I make a sudden stop, guess where you may end up? It's right here. I don't want you there. One other thing, I'm a big guy and I drive a pretty big truck. If there's an object in the road, I can straddle it. And if I straddle it and it comes out and you don't see it, you will not have time to react. Think about that object as an alligator. You don't want that alligator to bite you. So I want you 20 car lengths behind me where I can see you. If you can see my mirror, you're in a safe spot where I can see you and you can see me. And that's where I want you at.
Hello, my name's Don Biggerstaff. I'm a professional truck driver. I've been in the industry for 37 years and have accumulated 1.4 million safe driving miles. And I'm here today to tell you about one of the blind spots that we have on the truck. The left side, the driver's side. We see you best out of this side from our vantage point in the truck. And this is the side that we want you to pass us on. But I need to make it clear, we do have a small blind spot located about where this car is, right behind the driver's seat in the truck. If you're in this position, we could lose you in our mirrors and not see you. So if you find yourself in this spot beside the truck, We want you to safely maneuver on around us. That keeps us safer and you safer. And really, that's what the Share the Road program is all about.
This is the front end of the truck. The worst thing you could do is cut in front of a truck. Rule of thumb, look in your rear view mirror, and when you can see the whole truck in that mirror, that's the time to come over. That usually puts you 10 car lengths in front of our vehicle. Your car usually weighs 4,000 pounds, and fully loaded, this semi could weigh up to 80,000 pounds. And going 60 miles an hour, it could take the length of a football field and 2 end zones to stop.
So what you're telling me, Ralph, then is that if I'm driving a 4,000-pound car, that'd be 20 times my weight.
That's right.
That'd be like a 200-pound wrestler wrestling a man weighing 4,000 pounds.
Exactly, kind of like me wrestling you.
As a professional driver, I use every means possible to see out of my vehicle. Of course, I don't have the luxury of looking in a rearview mirror like you do in a car, or throwing my arm over the seat and looking at the back windshield. I have to use the tools that's been given me, my windshields and my mirrors, to see what I need to see. That's why this front windshield is so important. It's like my big screen television. It allows me to see what's going on out in front of me. 2 other important tools that I have are my mirrors on each side, outside of the truck. I have my right mirror, which allows me to see a narrow path down the right side of my trailer. However, not 2, 3, and 4 lanes over. The mirror on my left-hand side, with head movement, I can see better out of that one, which is the side we want you to pass us on. No matter what I'm doing, I have to focus on my driving. And that's what we want you to do. Because if we all stay focused on the highway, it'll be a much safer place for all of us.
Distracted driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving. Distractions in your car could be eating, drinking, could be talking to someone, and most common ones are on your phone or texting. Did you know if you travel 60 miles per hour for 6 seconds distracted, that you have actually went the length of a football field? What we want you to do is concentrate on your job, and that's driving.
You know, we had a lot of fun doing this video, and I hope you got the understanding that we're very proud of our record and we're very passionate about safety. And we've interjected some humor to make it fun. However, when you're driving, there is one place that you absolutely must keep your focus, and that's in a construction zone. You know, a construction zone is simply a temporary inconvenience for a major improvement. You know, those guys that are working on that road are working on that road for one reason, and that's to make the highway safer. There's a couple things you need to remember when you're going into a construction zone. Number one, always obey the speed limit. That speed limit is set in place for everybody's safety. Also, the solid white lines are there so that nobody crosses that solid white line. It's very important never to tailgate, and especially not in a construction zone. Because in construction zones, things happen quickly. And the last thing you want is to run into the back of somebody because something happened in front of them. Remember, every one of those construction workers are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and they all want the same thing that you and I do. And no matter who you are, whether you drive a truck, drive a car, or work in that construction zone, everybody's goal is to make the most important trip, the trip home, safely.
Probably one of the most important things that he mentioned is that when you're behind a tractor trailer, if you cannot see their side mirrors, then you're way too close. They gave the example of being back about 10 car lengths, but we know a following distance of 4, 5, 6 seconds, depending on what your speed is what's best. One of the uncomfortable driving situations that you may encounter is that you probably don't mind driving on a highway, but wait till you get to a highway that has multiple lanes and you start finding yourself being boxed in around some of these larger vehicles. So what I want you to write down is that try to find a lane where you don't have that many tractor trailers. You really don't want to get boxed in because your line of sight, your stopping distance is going to probably be reduced a little bit. So always have a spot, an area that you can go make a lane change to in case tractor trailers get too close in front of you, to one side of you, or behind you. You want to leave something off to the side that you can make a lane change and get out of that boxed in situation. Now Walmart has actually provided a training program for driver's ed programs. We have something like this in the state of New Hampshire. I've never accessed it because it takes up really a full class, and I think they could probably do it in about 15-20 minutes to allow everybody a chance to get into the cab of a truck and see what the no zones look like. But they want to show you more videos than what I've just showed you right here. They're taking up a good portion of a full class, which I think is a little bit too much. But I do think it's kind of cool that they bring a truck out so that you can get in it, see what it's like to be sitting up so high, how they can see things in front of them. Then you can look in the side mirrors. And let me just show you their training program that they do for driver's ed programs. This is more down south. There's another trucking company in New Hampshire that comes out and does it for us.
No zone, that's an area around a large commercial vehicle where we have trouble seeing cars and vehicles that's in close proximity. And the idea of this program is to share this knowledge with individuals that may not understand that we have difficulty seeing cars that are maybe right beside us. Never assume that a truck driver can see you. Make sure that you see the truck driver's face, make sure he sees you. If you find yourself on the right side of a tractor trailer, always assume that driver may not see you. And if you assume that and move forward or slow down and get behind him where he can see you, don't hang out in those blind spots. And when you're following the truck, we normally set up a car 65 feet behind the truck.
So remember, each one of these orange trucks cannot be seen by the driver.
In travel
now, of course,
distance.
the red car
if you're following a truck at
but they're
65
saying
feet,
that they're not going to be able to stop for that
pretty
red
far
vehicle.
back, but I can't see you.
Remember the dump truck over on the side?
Yeah.
See it?
Back of it.
You have to lean forward though, don't you?
Yeah.
We have opportunities like this with the kids to share this type of information with them. It's a first-hand learning experience. When you see something hands-on, you tend to grasp it better, and so we hope that these kids here today will go out on the highways and realize when they're beside that large truck, that driver may not see them. And if a driver can't see them, if he changes lane, it can result in a very severe collision.
So that's the training program that I think is a good one. I like that they do it. I just wish that New Hampshire didn't do it for such a long period of time, taking up one class. So we've already talked about what no zones are, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Now, let's talk about another group of roadway users that we may encounter, and really we're in the thick of it right now, and that's the summer months where motorcycles are very prevalent out on the roadway. Now, the two things I want you to write down is, one, that motorcycles are difficult to pick up in the driving scene, which means that when you come to an intersection, if you just make a cursory check left and right, you probably won't truly see some motorcycles. And if you do see a motorcycle, a lot of people, this is where judgment and reasoning comes into play, you think that they're going slower than they actually are. They're really going quite fast. And by the way, they could speed up. Their rate of acceleration is much faster than anything that we have on the road for automobiles. Now, of course, when you go high-end, top-end vehicles, of course, they're going to go from 0 to 60 just about as fast as a motorcycle. But because of their weight and their high level of torque, they can go from 0 to 60 in like 4 or 5 seconds, like in a blink of an eye. Whereas we're taking between 6 and 8 seconds on most automobiles. So just remember that. The other thing I want to mention, you don't find it in the manual, you don't find it in the textbook, and we kind of ended last night's class on it, is watch out for animals when you're driving, and we're going to find more of a problem with animals at night than we do during the day. So if you think missing a deer, we talked about deer, moose, bear, and turkeys. If that is difficult in a car, it's going to be even worse for a motorcycle because of balance. If you have to swerve really quickly on a motorcycle, depending on the type of road that you're on, you might have to put the bike down. Or if you do hit the animal, then you're going to probably get tossed from it. Let me show you a motorcycle rider that had a problem.
We really had fun taking the class. It was something that my husband and I did together, which made it even more special.
Wrong one. I gave you the wrong one. We're going to see that in a moment. But I don't know why he crossed over the center line. Doesn't look to be that hurt. So he's able to get right back on. Kind of watch. Let's go back and watch that again. Now he crosses over the center line. Let's see if we can really pick up where the deer is. So if you're scanning, it's coming from the right. Okay, if he's going left, you should go right. Okay, if we go right back just a little bit, let's back it up. Okay, here's the deer right in front of him right now. So if he was braking and going to the right, you're just going to miss it. Look, he hits him right in the back hindquarters. Okay, luckily he wasn't injured in that. It's amazing that he was able to get up from that. Here's a guy in New Hampshire, because we talked about how quickly they can pick up speed. Once you get used to riding a motorcycle, just like in a car, you want to see what it's able to do. Here's a guy that thought hitting 185 on Interstate 93 is a cool thing to do. Of course, he's going to have his license. Look at that. He's held on a $1,000 cash bail. So he probably got arrested and went to jail. That's criminal. All right, he's going to be losing his license for a long, long period of time right there. Of course, they're not going to try to pursue him because that's dangerous. But remember, he's not on the road by himself. He's out on the road with other people. So this is why you constantly have to be checking your rear view, side view mirrors while you're on a highway. Now, I forgot to download the lane splitting video. I don't think I can drop it in. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can find it and if I can just drop it right in. Okay, if you just hold on with me just 1 minute. I just found it. I'm going to try to add it real quick. So just bear with me 1 minute. I had to download it. And then I'll add it. It's one of the complications of going live here. Yep, there we go. Okay. This is called lane splitting, so please write this down. This is where motorcycles actually go to the right and go to the left. And that is not a desert lane for him losing his lane. And the truck driver made sure that he was not going to pass. So when they go down one of these dotted white line areas, this is called lane splitting. Now notice he's going faster than the flow of traffic. So that's just crazy. Now it's illegal, I believe, in all states except California. So actually, and he's lucky too that he wasn't injured worse. Now you could tell this guy's a yahoo. Just did a wheelie, pulling away, high rate of speed. Now he's going to try to cut between cars. You know something bad's going to happen because it's on video. All we need is one car to start crowding in. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Now here's a roundabout where he's going way too fast for the beginning. He just passed the sign indicating what the roundabout speed should be. So he's exceeding that. He's going to actually lose control. So that's not lane splitting, that's just going way too fast. And this is probably the worst one. A pretty major highway.
Ёбаный дурак, блядь.
Okay, that was not good. That is lane splitting. Not legal here in New Hampshire, but like I said, California, I believe that they do allow it. So let's talk about what are the rights of motorcycles. Okay, they have the same rights and responsibilities. So stop signs, yield signs, traffic controls, they've got to do everything that we do. They have no special privileges. They have to be in a lane. So lane splitting, as I said, is not legal. They can't do that. So why are so many motorcycles getting hit? Well, it kind of goes both ways. They're doing some foolish things. They're not trying to be seen going at adequate speeds for people to make a determination of what they got to do around a motorcycle. And the other problem is that cars aren't giving right of way to motorcycles. They're just pulling right out in front, thinking you can stop quicker than I do, so I'm just going to cut out in front of you. So like I said earlier, they're very hard to see. It's very difficult to judge their speed. So you better know before you pull out, that the motorcycle sees you and is able to handle what you're doing. Left turns are so dangerous for motorcycles. For cars making left turns in front of motorcycles is because we don't see them. We don't know what their speed is. So this is a major, major, major problem. Now, when you go to get your motorcycle license, they do it two ways. They do it either through a permit system where you send to the state an application wanting a motorcycle license, and they give you a temporary permit for a couple weeks to get well acquainted with your motorcycle, or you can take the motorcycle course with the state of New Hampshire. And they have, we're going to talk more about this in a minute, but they have two classes, a novice and then they have an expert one. But what I found to be very interesting is that they are training motorcycle riders of how to change their speed and their position on roadways when they think a car is going to be turning left at an intersection. So what happens here is that you have your motorcycle and you're equipped with a helmet with a microphone and headphone, and you have an instructor on a motorcycle behind you. So no instructor is going to go on a motorcycle in the back with you. They're on their separate motorcycle behind you, and they tell you what to do, what to look for. So basically, like when you drive with me, I'll tell you to stop at your lines, how to check your mirrors, change your position, watch your speed coming into a turn. They're doing the same thing out on the road with motorcycles. I thought this was pretty cool. So let me show you the training program, and it's basically how to handle cars that are making left-hand turns.
Okay, let's get in the left lane. So let this truck go ahead. Yeah, leave lots of room.
So apparently they have a GoPro attached to the helmet.
Okay, good. So we got a truck up ahead. Okay, shoulder check, good.
See, notice
Moving
the change
away.
of his position.
And then
because
shoulder
he's afraid
check
that
back.
tractor trailer is going to turn, make a left-hand
Perfect.
turn. Now he resumes back into his center position. He's coming up to another traffic light in a moment, so he's going to go from the center
Yes.
position over to
That
right
move
of
will
center.
save your life.
Now, personally, I think he's too close to the back of the pickup. If I was training him, I would, because as a trainer,
get ready
I
to do
can't
it
even
again?
see the side mirrors that well. Once again, he changes position, back to a center position.
Excellent.
So that is very beneficial. That really starts to get the thought in your head. I'm on a motorcycle. I'm pretty vulnerable here. How can I make myself a better rider? How can I protect myself? And these classes will give you tips and techniques, just like hopefully I think you're getting here at Driver's Ed, to make you a better driver. But you've got to put it into practice. That is the thing. You just can't do it. Now with motorcycles, they don't have that luxury that we do in an automobile. When you make a turn, that the directional signal will turn off automatically. They have a little button that they push left or right, and that's going to indicate that their signal is on. They've got to look down at their speedometer, just like what we do, and we have something flashing telling us that we have our directional on. They've got to be able to cancel it out, because then they're giving the wrong information if they continue down the road. Following distance, question mark, should it be the same 3 seconds? It should be 4, just like with a car now. They stop better than we do. So more distance will always be better. Always go for more rather than less. You'll never get in trouble for having more. You will have incidents or close calls when you get too close. If you see him constantly changing position, like we saw in that last video, it's for other people to see him. He's doing that so people will look in their mirror and see a motorcycle going from left to right or right to left. That motion is going to cause people to check their mirrors. You can't crowd a motorcycle, so don't move into the same lane that they're in. They're entitled to that full lane width. And a lot of times when they do something very quick, to the left or to the right, they're trying to get around something on the road. So just be aware they're not trying to mess with you. They're doing that on purpose so they don't hit something in the road. These are situations that are going to create problems for motorcyclists. Anything that has traction problems for cars will be that much more for motorcyclists. So dirt, gravel, snow. Here we've got metal bridges, railroad crossings, broken pavement near potholes, even the weather, so windy situations, where in a car you may feel the car being pushed left or right, but it's going to definitely be worse on a motorcyclist. So let's talk a little bit about the New Hampshire Motorcycle Safety Course. They do have one in Durham, so if you do want to take this class, it is over near West Edge, if you know where that is, past the farm area that UNH has, leaving the Durham area near the Circle. It's usually a weekend program, 1 or 2 days, like Friday night from 6 to 9, and then the following Saturday, or they just do a morning program on Saturday and then do something in the afternoon. So there is a classroom, and then they take you out and they have you go through cones, teach you about balance, teach you about positioning and things like that. The nice thing about taking the motorcycle course is that you will be exempt from taking the state motorcycle test. So just like you're going to be taking a test for your driver's license, they're going to make you bring a motorcycle down to the testing site to go through a obstacle course, and they see how well you do. So if you take the course, you're exempt from that. You don't have to do it. Now this, I don't have anything that New Hampshire provided us for what does a motorcycle class entail, but I did find Pennsylvania, their Department of Motor Vehicles, had a video sponsoring their motorcycle course, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm just going to show you some, and these are grown riders, grown adults that are motorcycle riders that really found it to be beneficial. So don't, look at a motorcycle class. I already got my driver's license. I know the rules of the road. What am I going to learn from this? You probably will. Oh, and the other nice thing about New Hampshire is they provide a motorcycle for you. So if you just wanted to get the motorcycle designation on your license, you can just go get it, have it on your license, and then maybe think 6 months to a year, whenever you want to get a motorcycle, then you can buy one. You've already got that designation. So don't think you have to buy a motorcycle first in order to take the class. So let me show you the motorcycle class. Let's see if this is coming up. Okay, here.
We really had fun taking the class. It was something that my husband and I did together, which made it even more special.
I thought, boy, this is going to be, why am I going to go do this? I've been riding so long, there's nothing I can, what are they going to teach me or what are they going to show me? And I was very shocked when I actually took it, and I learned quite a bit from that.
We got the club together and filled up a class, and in varying level of experience from people who've been riding, 30 and 40 years. And every one of them, when we got done with the class, was worthwhile.
For my family, the very first step of getting into motorcycling was signing up for the motorcycle safety course. Because even before we went out to invest money in buying a motorcycle, it was important for us to learn the intricacies of riding the bike, and you certainly want to be prepared for the road risks.
Since taking that course and learning at least that one technique alone, it's probably saved my life at least 15 times.
I think that there's just as much value in the classroom as there was as physically being on the bike. So when you go out and you get on the bike, all that mental stuff is already in there.
The instructors were very friendly, and they didn't make you feel uncomfortable or weird that you hadn't ridden before. They just eased you right into it. They have you just kind of walking the bikes along as they're on, and you start going around in circles, then you progress into weaving in and out between cones.
And the instructor stood in front of the cones, and at the last moment, he would point left or right, and you had to do like an evasive move. It was just that last split second which way to turn. And if you make a mistake, then you learn from it.
He actually threw it was a piece of block on the ground, like a 2x4, and you actually, instead of going around it, go right through it. It just teaches you that if something's on a road and you're going like 55, 60, there's no sense of trying to go around it. You can't, because you ain't gonna have time to look left and right. Just go right straight through it.
You're constantly scanning ahead, and that's one of the things they teach you in the course. You are looking at the car in front of you, but you're actually looking further down. You're watching those intersections on your side. And these are some of the things that I never thought about, but the course talked about.
And all of a sudden, I start pulling around the curve, and another guy comes straight over, and if I would not have been aware, and again, this came from the course of being aware of everything that's happening around you, and I was able to stop. But if I'd have kept going, I would probably be a hood ornament at this point.
The maneuvering technique I did learn from the course did help me last year with the accident that I was in, that someone pulled out in front of me. And I was able to maneuver the bike to get around mostly, but the bike did clip the bumper a little bit. But still, I was able to get out unscratched and still walk away.
We're going through a small town, going 30 miles an hour, put my signal on to slow down, to stop, and the bike behind me slammed into me. The first thing I felt was this jerk, and then I heard the instructors voice saying, hold on, keep the front tires straight. Slowly apply your brakes, both the front and the rear brakes slowly, and bring the bike to a slow stop. And that's exactly what happened.
You think you know about bikes, but you do not know about bikes until you take the safety course. You do not know about all the different things that can come at you. You don't pay attention to that when you're just riding without the knowledge. So it can definitely save your life. It's a lifetime lesson that costs nothing.
So that's really a great program to take if you want to get a motorcycle, and even really a scooter would be helpful. Now, the next topic, or the next roadway user, and we're seeing more of this, they're actually saying that because of the virus, more and more people are getting outside and hiking and using their bikes. I cannot remember a summer where I've seen more bicycles on the roadway. Now, you need to know this for the final. When passing a bike, every driver of a vehicle shall exercise due care by leaving reasonable and prudent distance between the vehicle and the bicycle. So here's what I want you to write down. 3 feet at 30 miles per hour. So the bare minimum, 20 miles per hour, still 3 feet. But at 30 miles per hour, it has to be 3 feet. And then for every 10 miles above 30, you're adding an extra foot. Now, I know some of these roads in New Hampshire, the bike is right on the white line. So what am I going to do? There's an oncoming car coming towards me. I can't give him 3 feet. I'm going to go over the yellow line. Then you stay behind the bicyclist. Don't go into oncoming traffic between a bike and an oncoming car, because you've got nowhere to go if something bad happens. You should never have an obstacle on both sides of your vehicle at the same time. If you do have it at the same time, that's called compromise, which means that you have 2 or 3 feet on the right, 2 or 3 feet on the left. You give equal distance to two possible problems. The best thing to do is to separate, is to wait behind the bicyclist, let the oncoming car or cars go by, and then go around at that 3 foot distance. Okay? And that's what it's stating here at the bottom bullet, is wait for traffic. Separate. I don't know if you can hear that. I've got my windows open. There's a motorcycle revving out the window here. So let's take a look. Now, in California, they did a bicycle motorcycle training thing. So I'm gonna show you the bike safety video. Well, let's go through what bicycles have to do first. Bicycles have to obey the same rules as drivers and motorcyclists do. So signal their turns and stops. Hand signal is really important because you don't have directionals like a motorcycle. If riding side by side, that's 2 abreast, keep within a single lane. Don't hold up traffic. Ride single file if it looks like you're holding up traffic. And don't ever, ever ride your bike on a sidewalk. Someone could step out from a store and you'd totally just lay them right out. Okay, you have to be out on the roadway. That's a must. Never hang on to other vehicles in any manner. Give right of way to other pedestrians. If you have a passenger, make sure that there's a seat wide enough for both of you, and that's usually not the case anymore. And make sure that you're not putting things on your bicycle, hanging them, that's going to interfere with any type of controlling of the bicycle. And we also know that bicycles are always going to be going in the same direction as cars. So what do bicycles have to do? Have reflectors front and back. Now we're asking them to actually attach reflective material to their jacket. The bottom bullet is probably the most important, is that you have to have one item of reflective clothing now, and you have to have it on when your headlights are on. That's the half hour after sunset to a half hour before sunrise. Protective helmets are required for people under the age of 16. And if the police want to pull you over because you've done something wrong, you can get a ticket on your bicycle. So don't think you're going to get away for cutting through parking lots and going through stop signs. If an officer thinks that you're doing something unsafe, they'll pull you over and give you a ticket. So let's take a look at the bike safety video.
Every year, thousands of Californians who ride bicycles or motorcycles are killed or injured in collisions with motorists. Sometimes the cause is the cyclist's behavior. Sometimes it's the motorist's lack of attention. Let's look at some safety tips for sharing the road with bicycles and motorcycles. First of all, as a motorist, you must keep in mind that bicycle and motorcycle riders have the same rights and responsibilities as vehicle drivers while on public roads. Respect their right-of-way because they are entitled to share the road with you. Look carefully for cyclists before making turns, merging into traffic, changing lanes, or when opening doors next to moving traffic. Look over your shoulder and use mirrors before changing lanes. Motorcycles can come into your lane within seconds, which is why looking over your shoulder is essential each time you change lanes. Road hazards such as potholes, gravel, wet surfaces, pavement seams, and railroad crossings pose hazards to cyclists. They may cause them to vary their speed, change direction, or fall suddenly. Drive attentively and be aware of how these conditions affect cyclists. Statistics show that a high percentage of injury collisions are caused by failing to yield the right-of-way to cyclists. Remember, courtesy and common sense promote traffic safety for all, so here's what you can do to help prevent collisions at intersections or roundabouts. Make a visual check and use your mirrors and turn signals before entering an intersection or roundabout. Look for that bicycle or motorcycle rider that just might be in your blind spot. Bicyclists are even more difficult to see and can easily disappear in vehicle blind spots. Follow the right-of-way rules. Remember to yield to any vehicle already in the intersection or arriving first, or to the vehicle on the right that reaches the intersection at the same time as you. This includes bicycle and motorcycle riders. Never assume cyclists will give you the right-of-way. Here are some tips when passing cyclists. Try to avoid passing cyclists on two-lane roads. If you must pass, be patient and pass cyclists on the left when it's safe. As you pass, allow safe clearance between you and the cyclist. Don't squeeze cyclists off the road. Remember, they have just as much right to be there as you do. On freeways, you will at times find a special lane called a high occupancy vehicle or HOV lane. Motorcycles are allowed to ride in these lanes and may very well pass you, so be on the lookout for them. Check your blind spot. The roads are crowded enough, so the best way to prevent a collision is to distance yourself from other vehicles and cyclists. This gives you more time to react and space to maneuver. Allow a cyclist a full lane width. Although it is not illegal to share lanes with cyclists, it is not safe. Allow a 4-second following distance for motorcyclists. You will need this space to avoid collision should the rider fall. Never drive your vehicle in the bicycle lanes. The only exception is when making a right turn. You must be within 200 feet of the corner or a driveway entrance before you can merge into the bicycle lane. Also, do not speed up to overtake a bicycle just before making a right turn. Merge into the turning lane behind the bicyclist, then make the turn. When using a turning lane, watch for bicycles making left and right turns. They are required to use the same turning lanes as vehicles. Look for any hand signals from the bicyclists that indicate they're turning or making a lane change. One final thing you may not be aware of. Bicycles and motorized bicycles are lawfully allowed to ride on certain sections of freeways when there's no alternate route available to them and when signs are posted. As a motorist, remember to keep in mind that bicycle and motorcycle riders have the same rights and responsibilities as vehicle drivers while on public roads. They are entitled to share the road with you, so please respect their right-of-way. Make the roads as safe.
So that's an overview of some of the things that we were talking about. A couple other things to remember, that in some major cities now, bicycle lanes will also have their own traffic lights. So just be aware of that. Don't use the bike lane traffic light as your traffic light, because it could be different, could be out of sync, just like a walk signal for a pedestrian is going to have their own signal. So please, please, make sure you know it's not your bicycle signal that you're going through an intersection on. Pedestrian safety, I will tell you, I have more students on a monthly basis fail to pick pedestrians that are waiting, standing and waiting at a crosswalk going across the street. If they are stopped, if they're looking at you, it is your responsibility to stop for them. Now, I don't mean slam on the brakes, because there are going to be times that you just don't pick them up because of parked cars are blocking your view. Maybe other cars that are traveling are blocking your view. But I'm talking in plain sight, that I can see them up 500 feet up the road. I know that they're at a crosswalk. Just don't buzz by them. Now, we don't have any UNH students, actively in town right now. We've got a few, but not like it usually is. A lot of times pedestrians will walk out in front of you and expect you to stop. Now, if they are jaywalking, that's a totally different story. They shouldn't be crossing the street without a crosswalk. If they are, then they've got to wait for a gap in traffic. Traffic does not have to make a gap for them. My philosophy with crosswalks is, as long as you let them cross in front of you and they get beyond the yellow line and they're no longer a danger to you or you're a danger to them, then to cross over. Do not get in the tendency to keep pushing or moving up as they're walking in front of you. That is called pushing a pedestrian. Okay, not a safe thing to do. So let's take a look at pedestrian safety.
Hi, I'm Michelle Yeoh. As an actress, I've been in many dangerous situations on screen, but I always get to walk away. In real life, though, most people don't. So when you're walking near traffic, follow these safe steps and help save lives. Drivers and pedestrians share the responsibility of keeping themselves and others safe. Your eyes and ears are your best safety tools. Avoid using electronic devices that distract your attention. Stay on sidewalks. If there is no footpath, walk on the edge of the road facing oncoming traffic. At a road crossing, stop, look both ways, listen, and then cross. We all have a role in road safety. Follow these safe steps and play your part. For more road safety advice.
Now, I think she brought up a good point that I forgot to mention, is that you can't hear traffic if you've got headphones on. You have to be actively looking for cars, whether they're stopping for you or not. So remember, pedestrians, if they're in a crosswalk, you must stop and yield to them. Look for people that may have a guide dog, that are blind. Now, we do have a few in Dover. I haven't seen one in Durham for a while. White cane, red tip, dead giveaway. We know who they are. Give them a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra room. So you should probably stay back about 10 or 15 feet. And the other thing I want you to write down in your notes is that hybrids create a problem for blind people, because the guide dog does not hear the car as well and doesn't really want their master to cross the road. So the dog will be stopped or pulling backwards on the harness to tell the master not to cross the road. because it just isn't getting a sense of the vehicle. An engine is a dead giveaway, and they know that there's a car there. The last sentence is the one that I kind of alluded to just a moment ago. Motor vehicle law requires drivers to come to a complete stop for persons with a white cane, guide dog crossing the street. Before continuing, drivers must use caution and be aware that they play a very important role in how a person safely negotiates his or her route of travel. So this is what I want you to write down. As a driver, you must stop at least a distance of 10 feet. The person who is blind listens for the vehicle, and they just can't hear hybrids and how cars are stopping now automatically and going to shut off mode while they're waiting. So what are the rights or requirements of pedestrians? If they're not on a crosswalk legally, you're not required to stop for them. But of course, you don't want to hit a pedestrian, because then you're going to have to fill out a crash report, and everybody's going to look at you like, why'd you hit a pedestrian, even though they may be at fault. You should look both directions if you're crossing the street. Don't assume that both sides are going to stop for you. We know that you're walking facing traffic. If you're at a crosswalk, you're waiting for the walk signal. You know that do not walk means you must wait for the next cycle. And the countdown, you cannot turn right on red. We've talked about this before. When it comes to pedestrians, even though there's no pedestrians around, you cannot turn right on red with a walk signal or a countdown. You got to give people enough time to get all the way across the roadway. Now, when we talk about limited access or interstate, we know from last night's class that we're talking about a highway. We don't want people walking on the highway where they can't be seen and people are traveling at a high rate of speed. Joggers, children, and animals, so watch out at certain locations, especially for young children. Young children do not have the judgment and reasoning skills of an adult. So for them to go after a ball that's loose, to chase after a dog, to be walking the wrong way, or maybe to have headphones on, would probably be a pretty common occurrence. So as a driver, you've got to take the responsibility and handle the mistakes that they're making. Let me show you a clip of a high school kid with people in his car. And that's the other thing. It's very easy to get distracted by music, by other passengers in your vehicle. So as a driver, maybe you're not stopping for people that are trying to cross is because other people have your attention rather than you being, alert and paying attention to the roadway. So this was a commercial that a high school student did for, I think for an insurance company. And then they made it into a commercial.
Chris, watch out!
I'll never forget that day. The week before graduation, we were so excited. You see headlines about people getting hit, and you never think it could be you or your friends. A split second. I looked away for a split second, and that's all it took. Every day I see that same kid, and every day I think about what could have happened. I swore I would never put anyone in that situation again. It wasn't so long ago I was walking to school. I made mistakes then too, but now that I'm driving a few tons of steel, I owe it to those children to be cautious, to know the law, and drive defensively. After all, I'm still a pedestrian too. And I'm walking to my car, or across campus, you never know what you're getting into. But you can look for clues that pedestrians may be present. Crosswalks, pedestrian crossing signs, intersections, or someone simply standing at the curb. When a pedestrian is in a mid-block crosswalk or you're making a turn on a green light, they have the right-of-way. Also, pedestrians have the right-of-way at unmarked crosswalks, where a sidewalk ends at a street with no traffic signals. Think of the sidewalk as extending into the roadway. You can't always predict what other drivers are going to do either. I've had people go around me when I stop for someone in a crosswalk. These days, I don't just stop. I keep my eyes open for kids darting into traffic, coming from all different angles. You never know. Kids can be unpredictable, so expect the unexpected. Like here. Kids cross here all the time. If they can't see me, and I can't see them. That's why I go extra slow. I used to think it was cool to goof off when I was driving. I thought I was a good driver, even though I thought it was okay to use my phone or text or make a quick call. But that was before I realized how easy it is to hit someone, maybe kill someone. I don't want that hanging over my head for the rest of my life. I've got other things to worry about now, like college, and finding a parking spot.
Okay, one thing I want you to remember about crosswalks, at least here in New Hampshire, is that we will have the neon yellow diamond-shaped sign indicating it's a crossing. You should be able to see that from a great distance down the road. So you may not be able to see pedestrians, but you should be able to pick up that yellow neon sign quite quickly. In Durham, we've even gone to where we've put a flashing yellow light going around the border of the sign to gravitate to see the pedestrian that could be waiting. I'll give you a tip that I want you to write down, and this is a dead giveaway that there's a pedestrian crossing the road, especially in Durham, is that let's just say that you're traveling in the left lane and there's a right lane right next to you going in the same direction. So it's a one-way street with two lanes. You're in the left, someone is in the right lane. They're a little bit in front of you, so let's say 100 feet. And all of a sudden you see them slowing down and they come to a stop. And you have no idea why they've just stopped. It's probably because a pedestrian is walking in front of that vehicle. So in your notes, if you see a vehicle stopped on a main roadway and you don't know why they're stopping, no light, no sign, it's a pedestrian or something in the road that's crossing in front. It could be an animal. So go to your brake. Make sure you understand why they're slowing down. In the driver's ed vehicle, I'll tell you a quick story. In Dover, there was an emergency vehicle coming, and the Opticom light was flashing red between the traffic lights. So I was pointing that out to a student. We were in the left lane, and we were on a one-way street, so there was a right lane. Just the scenario that I gave you, that a car was slowing down to let a pedestrian go, and the pedestrian went in front of that stopped vehicle, and now we're approaching. And because I was pointing something out to the student was paying attention to the traffic light, not the car that was stopped. The pedestrian saw us coming and knew that we weren't slowing down, stopped halfway in the road as we went by them. Well, there was a Dover police officer 2 or 3 cars back, and we got pulled over. Okay, you will get stopped if you do not stop for pedestrians. So I spoke to the officer. I took full responsibility. I was explaining something to a student, and I wasn't able to tell him quick enough that there was a pedestrian. And to be honest, he kind of came out of nowhere. So the car to the right of us had to stop kind of quick. So luckily, there wasn't a crash. But it very well, if he was on headphones or he wasn't paying attention, then we probably would have hit him. So it's our responsibility to pick up pedestrians. The move over law, I want you to write that down. This is from the manual. Every single state has a move over law, which means that if a police officer or an emergency vehicle is off to the side of the road, you need to leave your lane, move to a different lane, or if you can't move to another lane entirely, you've got to move over as far as you can. And that's for every single state. So go slow. So reduce your speed probably by 10, 15 miles per hour. If there's a person out directing traffic, you have to obey what they're telling you to do. When it says vacate, wholly or partially block, that means to move over or move over as much as you can to make it safe. Here's a video for move over. I actually know a local Durham police officer that was writing out a ticket to somebody, and some car did not move over and got quite close. The officer was so upset at the person that did not move over far enough, left the person he was giving the ticket to, and chased the person that got too close. So don't assume because you didn't move over far enough or move over an entire lane, he's already giving a ticket. It's no big deal. You know, what are they going to do? They will try to get you. So just realize that you may not get away with it. Distracted driving, we're going to cover that on Monday. So let's just talk a little bit about Monday. I think we're pretty much, I was going to show another pedestrian video, but I think I'll leave that. We're going to talk about this on Monday, distracted driving and road rage. So what I'd like you to do, let me get out of this for a second. So what I'd like you to do for your homework, texting and road rage articles. So you're going to have to do 4 articles. So this is going to be a paper, all right? I want you to find 2 incidents where someone was distracted by driving. So you can send me the link or take a picture of it, you know. But I want you to write a paper, 2 paragraphs, about distracted driving and what can be done to make driving safer. All right, so what could you do not to be distracted? So 2 paragraphs about how to be a better, safer driver, what to do to people that are using their phone. So what are some of the factors that would come into play to make you a better driver? Okay, like turning off or turning the radio down low. I'll give you an example. That would be one. So if you want to use that, or turning off music, telling passengers not to talk to you in heavy traffic volume situations, so you could concentrate on things that are moving. So these are some of the things that I want you to, to implement into your, just 2 paragraphs. I'm not looking for anything, probably, half a page of that. So distracted driving. And then what I want you to do is for road rage, find 2 articles about road rage. And what I'd like you to do is to give a reaction to those 2 articles. What could have been different? So if a person chased another person, followed them home, what would have been a better result? It'd be quite easy to figure that out. So what are some of the steps to break that chain of having it go to the point of where road rage is taking place? So we're going to talk about distracted driving and road rage on Monday. Tuesday will be a review. We are also going to go over fatigue driving. We weren't able to do that. And nighttime driving. We'll also talk about manual transmission vehicles, how to operate them. And then the last part of Tuesday will be review questions, because if you looked at the state manual at the very end, they only give you 11 sample questions, so which isn't very much. So we are in the home stretch. Just a couple more topics and we are done. So Thursday, a week from today, you will be taking your final. So let's end on a good note. Make sure that you have your homework from previous classes sent in to me. I noticed that some of you have texted me about driving. So later tonight, I'm going to take a look and see if I can put some of you in the calendar. So I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday open. So if you've got some free time and you can make it to the high school, I'll try to fit you in. So that is it. For those of you that are scheduled for tomorrow or Saturday, we'll see you Saturday or tomorrow. Have a good night. See you on Monday.